Next, I've been getting to the root of a problem that's causing misery for homeowners here in my Stig and right across Wales.
When Robin Wastill first set eyes on this house in my Stig 5 years ago, he had a good feeling about it.
The people are absolutely marvellous. Everybody talks to you. The hills, the valleys, lovely. I looked out the window, saw the railway line. I said, oh, that's good. I'll be able to tell the grandchildren I've got my own private railway line.
Robin decided it was the perfect place to start a new chapter of his life.
Well, unfortunately, in 2010, my wife passed away, and I went back to Spain where we lived, beautiful home, and after a few months I realised I didn't want to be there on my own. So I decided to sell up and move back to the UK.
But by the time Robin moved in May, an alien invader had sprung up on the railway embankment behind his house.
I looked out the window and I thought, what the hell's that growing? After that, it seemed to speed up. The beautiful views I had, I couldn't see through it. It was just a mass of green.
Robin's house was surrounded by Japanese knotweed, a plant once cultivated by the Victorians who thought it looked pretty. But its roots can be 3 metres deep, it spreads quickly, and it can grow through walls and burst into houses. Getting rid of this invasive species is keeping weed control experts very busy. It may look dead at the moment, but within weeks it'll be a different story.
If you look closely, little red shoots starting to emerge, so those are the canes already and starting to emerge, and that will be next year's growth.
And it is that root area, isn't it, Rob, that's the real danger zone?
That's right, that's how the plant spreads.
So how do you treat it?
The obvious and cheapest and most effective method is to treat it with herbicide. You spray the leaves or you can inject into the stem. Very effective, but just takes several years to take effect. But it's important to take it all out, otherwise the plant's going to regenerate.
In my Steg, Robin has repeatedly asked Network Rail, which owns the embankment, to get rid of the Japanese knotweed. And although they've treated the site several times, the plant is still going strong.
Tell me about the impact that it's had on you, Robin, and your plans for the future.
I had a house on the market and I was getting loads of people come round, have a look, said how much they loved it. Then when I showed them the knotweed, they didn't want to get involved with Japanese knotweed because it's unmortgageable.
Anyone who has Japanese knotweed within 7 metres of their property could well struggle to get a mortgage unless they have a specialist treatment plan in place. Robin's neighbour, Steve Williams, has also had problems selling his home.
Now, Steve, you grew up in my Steg, didn't you? Have you always been aware of Japanese knotweed around?
Yeah, basically. We used to play anyway with kids, and make dens and all sorts of stuff, It's all over the place around here, to tell the truth.
So how has Japanese knotweed impacted on the house?
Stops light, it smells a bit in sometimes years as well. And it's been, when it's in full grow, it's basically tapping on my daughter's bedroom and things and keeping her awake at night and all sorts of stuff.
What happened when you tried to contact Network Rail about it?
Basically, they just palm me off. They just don't want to know. They hoping, basically, because they're such a big company, they look at it and say, well, we're big enough, we don't have to worry about you.
But Steve and Robin weren't prepared to let it go. And now they've certainly got Network Rail's attention.
I decided to take the next step, legal action. I'm unable to sell. I'm just unable to move on in my life to the next chapter. I'm a prisoner, and I've been a prisoner for 4 years.
And earlier this month, in a landmark case, the pair won their battle against the company. At Cardiff County Court, Network Rail were ordered to pay each of them more than £4,000 to remove the knotweed and £10,000 because the value of their homes had dropped.
I know there's lots and lots of people in my Steg and throughout Britain who's basically going through the same thing. And at least now it's not going to be such an uphill battle for them lot.
Who'd have thought a plant could cause so many problems? Well, Rodger Burnett, the lawyer who represented Robin from my stag that you saw in that report, is with me. Rodger, is this case going to open the floodgates now?
I've spoken to like hundreds of people who are literally at their wits' end. They're banging their head against a brick wall. They've tried to get people like Network Rail, other big landowners to take responsibility for Japanese knotweed that's on their land and that's stopping them selling their property or preventing them from buying a property. So hopefully now with this judgment, these people will be able to take on these big landowners and be able to sell their property.
But even if you can find who the landowner is, clearly it's often very difficult to get them to take action. What should people do?
It can be incredibly difficult. So if you don't have any joy contacting these people yourself, then your only option is to seek legal assistance.
Is it very expensive to treat? Is that what the issue is?
It can range from a few £1,000s to £30,000-40,000 to get the knotweed treated and excavated. When they developed the Olympic Park site in London, there was knotweed there and it cost £3.4 million to have it completely removed.
What's your advice to people who may be selling their property and suspect they have Japanese knotweed? Do you have to declare it?
Yes, you should. There's a property information form that sellers should complete when selling their property, and on there's a very specific question about Japanese knotweed. If you don't, then you can be faced with a sort of significant legal action from an unsuspecting buyer.
Because it can have implications for mortgages, can't it?
It can. If the property is affected by Japanese knotweed, then lenders won't lend against the property unless there is a treatment programme in place. That treatment programme is carried out by a competent contractor, and the treatment programme is underpinned by an insurance-backed guarantee.
Rodger, thank you.
Thank you.